Hello, everyone. Welcome to the crowded headspace. My name is Peter Louie.
My name is Kenneth K, or Ken.
And I'm Ryan Montsma.
So, for today's topic, we'll be kind of talking about kind of graduating college. Joining us today is Ryan, our friend and colleague from Tektronix during our internship together. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
I guess I can go first as I am the guest this week. So I have interned at a few places. I'm an electrical engineer, so I interned at Tektronix. I'm now at Intel as a grad student, so I just finished my first year of grad school, and I go to Purdue University. Enjoy the Pacific Northwest, being in this area and everything, and happy to shed some insight and from the Purdue perspective today.
Wonderful.
Crazy. Oh, one thing I forgot as a tradition that I do this recording is currently right now it is 11:42 p.m. on May 25th. We're
Yes.
doing a relatively early recording than other recordings because our guest speaker reaches a combination with it going on. So if it's a bit early, we got with the recording session. Sorry about that. But hey, at least you can hear it later on and get a guest speaker perspective when it comes to Purdue. And also, Peter, I said you say everyone, so I should introduce myself again. Maybe that's it.
Um,
You want me to
you
do
can
that?
if you want. The idea was primarily to introduce Ryan.
Well, well, hi guys, my name is Ken. Okay, anyway, they can hear my introduction.
Hey there, Ken.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So
All
yeah,
right.
as Ryan has kind of mentioned, we got in with it. This is our part two ish, right, when we come to education system, but
Yep.
it's more focused on comparison between Oregon State University and Purdue University, comparison wise itself, and we will talk about that in general. So yeah, we'll talk about like why they choose Purdue over other universities in the nationwide, and why they choose electrical engineering over the other major they offered in general in the nationwide as well too. So yeah, and then we'll compare our experiences to why we choose computer science as well too. So yeah, Ryan, why did you choose EE, electrical engineering?
That's a great question. It's not an easy one for me to answer because even though I've been asked it many times and I've had, well, years to think about it, I haven't really pinned down exactly why, but a
Interesting.
large portion of it came from parents. My dad was an electrical engineer, and so there was kind of an influence always that that's what things that he was interested in, I had heard about. And I always liked building things, whether that was like a service project and helping people make something or that personal projects, anything like that. So engineering seemed interesting to me. I really liked math and physics in high school. So it seemed that, hey, engineering is kind of a nice medium of it. I'd initially been thinking to go into physics. And then I was thinking about like, hey, what's the future? What's a future career in physics? And it's tough if you're not doing research for some group or something like that,
Yeah.
because you're otherwise going to get like engineering work with a physics degree. So it's like you might as well get an engineering degree. That's what I thought. So I decided, and of course with a little bit of gentle or not so gentle nudging from my parents,
Yeah.
I went into electrical engineering at Purdue, and definitely because Purdue is a good engineering school that I got accepted into. And I went there. It's been a good experience. I really enjoyed my first year. Things started to really like connect. I started to understand a little bit of what goes on in like our phones and circuits in general. So that was good. I've stuck with it ever since.
Interesting. Yeah. Parental influences are kind of huge. I mean, they're like at an early age, your parents are like usually the ones you spend the most time with. I mean, and there goes the saying, you are kind of the five most people you spend the most time with. So I'm curious, at a young age, what kind of like, so your dad was an electrical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, what kind of experiences during your childhood really kind of solidified your direction?
Nothing specific in electrical engineering, at least not really.
Okay.
Engineering in general. Yeah, so I was in Cub Scouts, and they've got all the fun little activities like shoot off your model rocket every year, or like go build a Pinewood Derby car.
Yeah.
So those were always good times. I would either go to my grandfather's. My grandfather was also very very mechanically inclined, very gifted in that sense. He's also an electrical engineer.
Oh wow.
Runs in the
Okay.
family. And
It really
so,
does.
yes, yeah. So there was like a lot of making of Pinewood Derby cars and just building things. And so I was always interested in mechanical, and my dad actually pushed me a little towards electrical because he's like, hey, there's more mobility basically once you have an electrical degree to do mechanical things than there is the other way around.
Fair enough.
So it was just small things like bottle rockets, Pinewood Derby cars, that sort of thing. And then a few electronics projects sprinkled in along the way. If it's just like, hey, go help me fix this thing. Or like in my Pinewood Derby car, one of them, we installed lights in it. So good stuff.
So like a lot of parents just came along, and like your parents, your just family background has gave you like inspiration in the same area, right? That's basically they give you thought about it. I mean, because likewise for myself, aside with my business major, at least my computer science major came along with my family background for sure. Because both of my parents were both math professors and master students, so I was like, it has to be somewhere within the STEM area, right? And otherwise, and they influenced me a lot when it comes to math. So it's like, yeah, I should do something with math, but I don't want to just do math because pure math is does not have a bright future relative within other majors. That's why I choose computer science, which is I can see why.
Mhm.
It's going on the connection as well too with it. You say you're a grad student at Purdue. Because when it comes to graduate students, the undergraduate like is just I'm doing electrical engineering or I'm just doing computer science. It's just very general major itself. But when it comes to grad school, like you choose what topic you want to explore in the area itself, right? So, in terms of that, like what topic are you doing right now, Purdue?
Yeah. So like you were saying, you start if undergrad's like this broad, you've got an entire span. Like in grad school, you basically have to say, bam, I want this chunk. And if you do a PhD, you're saying you want this sliver. So I myself am the chunk that I've chosen is integrated circuit design. So everybody in Intel knows that there's the i9 processors, the i7 processors, these are their clock frequencies, etc. Making all of the internals to that is a challenging task because you might be able to look at like a board on your phone and see some mechanical or some metal wires laid out and connections between components, and that's basically exactly what happens inside one of those integrated circuits. It just happens on a really small, literally nanometer scale. So getting some involvement in classes to hear about this, to have the intuition of, hey, this is what the big scale outside of one of those chips looks like. And then as you zoomed in more and more, I got more experience of what goes on inside of it. I found that to be very interesting and kind of got pushed into that. And in grad school, that was the main topic that interested me. And to do integrated circuit design, you need to essentially have a master's degree if you want to do design work, because you don't really get enough experience otherwise with things to be able to implement something really good. So you need that background. And that's why I went for the master's, focused on that. And now I have an internship at Intel. So I'd say things worked out pretty well.
Definitely so.
Is it? Is it? I'm kidding.
Depends when I get fired.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If I last the 3 months, maybe I'm fine. If it's anything less than that, things might be dicey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up how the scope of undergrad is so much broader than when you're doing your master's or PhD, right? Because I feel very similar. I was bringing this up to Ken like on our last podcast or the one before, I don't quite remember, but like I was looking at the courses for CS and it's like for me my focus is in AI. By the time I finish my undergrad, I'll only have taken like 3 courses that's related to it, and it's like this is nothing. That's
Yeah,
interesting that you bring that
yeah.
up. To see like that's kind of the same case elsewhere.
Do you think that you have the same experience from your side of things, Ken? Because I definitely feel like I only had a few classes that really focus on IC design, but there was like other classes sprinkled in that kind of built the basics.
The sprinkle around with it with area general area itself, yes. The reason why college does that in general is because they want to give you like maybe a taste of it because you think that, when you come to college, you don't know exactly what you're doing 100%. So college kind of give you a guideline saying, oh, try this, maybe try this along with it, right? That's basically what they are promoting in general. But for me, because I know I want to do data analysis, data science, and doing some application on top of business application, I know what I want to do with it. So I took classes that's meant for be beneficial in a way. So I took more classes relatively that's focused on my major or my interest, but um it's not significant enough to say like, yes, I know this stuff 100% compared to like other stuff, right? So probably what Peter said about 3 to 4 classes and same as Ryan as well too, I probably took about like, let's say like 6 or 7 classes if we got with data science. So, right. But again, that's not enough to say that I'm a data scientist compared to people who have done it with it, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
that's literally what it looks like in general, I would say.
The most interesting part of that to me is that you had the same idea that there was sprinkling of a lot of different topics in, but you had a more specific focus early on in one domain that basically said, hey, I want to focus on these things and try to optimize taking classes accordingly. Because I know that definitely was not my case, which is why I think I took so many. I took a lot of software for an electrical engineer. I did some other circuits classes, some signal processing, and decided that wasn't for me. Now I'm in IC design.
Signal processing is, I heard it's very a niche area. Who likes it a lot versus who hates a lot. Right, it's a strong hate or strong love for that area. I know that.
Sure.
But yeah, the case for me is also rare because I don't think anyone will come in and say I know exactly what I'm going to do when it was college. It took me a year to actually find a license too, right? And many others it takes more than that, and that's the reason why switching majors within the college is a very common theme relatively than.
Yeah.
This being like me, like I know what I'm doing, go straight into it, right? So yeah.
So Peter, did you have pretty good direction when you came in? That you wanted to do AI?
Yes. So AI, okay, AI was kind of just like, oh yeah, this has potential. I think I want to go into this. It was all kind of like, and I think kind of thing. Like that's kind of how I felt about it for a while. Only recently, like with like the advent of ChatGPT and all of those AI technologies all kind of blowing up, did it really hit me like this is a calling? So
gotcha.
That's at least the case for me. That's 3 years in, but even now I haven't even taken any of the related courses yet for machine learning and AI. Like that's like once I come back from my next internship, I'll be set to take those classes. So yeah.
Gotcha. It's interesting that you say like after 3 years is kind of where it's cemented for you, and it took a little while.
I mean, for me, CS was the direction. Sorry, CS was always been the direction for me, but like, yeah, it's only been recent till it really solidified.
Yeah. And I think that might be a little bit of the nature of undergrad, or at least for me, I found that to be similar. Like, I didn't know that I wanted to do IC design. I had just barely like wet my feet in it in the first semester of my 3rd year. So that was just my first introduction. And then I had an internship where I was doing power electronics, which is something totally unrelated. So it was tough for me to know that that's what I wanted to do. So I was kind of actually like, for this Intel internship, I was actually worried because I was like, and I still am, I guess, a bit. Because I'm taking kind of a leap into a domain that I haven't really experienced much of. But there's a lot of cool technologies out there, so I think it's going to be good.
I don't think it's a thing is the right word. It will be good. Come on, man. Keep yourself up there. It will be good.
Thank you. Yeah, assuming gosh, almost. I brought a toaster oven to work. Apparently that's a no-no.
Wait, what?
What about it?
Wait, I was out of left field. Wait, what's up with this toaster oven?
So I was like, the microwave ruins textures of food. When you
Mm,
make something like carnitas, you need to like heat up nachos or tortilla, whatever it is. You need to preserve things, right?
mhm.
And so I was like, yeah, just a little toaster oven. Like, what's that gonna do? And apparently they're like, no, that's a fire hazard. When
Jeez.
they literally have like frying vats in the floor below me. Go figure.
Funny.
So at least I
So
haven't gotten fired
toaster.
for that. I was just told to not ever use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'll
toaster is a
take that
fire
home.
hazard, but the other one is not.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I remember
That's it.
when we were all at like this field day at Tech, and I managed during a raffle. I pulled I think it was like a 2-in-1 hot pot thing, not hot pot. It's like a pressure cooker air fryer thing. I don't remember, but it was like
Oh yeah.
me and a fellow like new hire and a intern were like, why don't we just set this up here and have like food on like Fridays? That
Just
would have
like
been something.
I'm feeling a little bit chilly. I'm gonna
I
feel something.
know.
What? I'll just look at my. Oh, yeah, just put something in, eat it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still have it, Peter, by any chance?
Yeah, it's at my parents'.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
So, is there a reason why you choose Purdue out of any college in the nationwide, or even like in the world? I guess why Purdue?
Well, when I applied for colleges, it was a consideration of only a few things. A, I wanted engineering/math for that to be a good, strong program at a school.
Hmm.
B, I didn't want to absolutely like destroy my wallet. And the third is that I did not want to stay in state at Illinois. Illinois in-state rates were like $32K a year or something
Oof.
like that.
That's actually hefty for in-state.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
How was that
And
compared
so
to your like financial aid at Purdue?
So at Purdue, without the financial aid, it's like 40K.
Okay.
And I didn't know when I had applied at the time, like what I had gotten. As it turns out, I actually didn't get anything, though that's due to my own fault. But part of me was so, of course, my dad likes Purdue. He went there too. So, you know, a little push.
Millennium.
Purdue is a really good engineering school, but U of I, not only the price tag, but the facilities weren't as nice as Purdue for engineering, at least not for electrical. For aerospace, it's really nice. And there's like certain things with the culture, so I wasn't as excited about U of I. The only other schools I applied to other than Purdue, so I applied to Purdue, and I went to Iowa State as a safety school because as soon as you pay your $40, you get confetti across your screen saying, "Congratulations, here's your scholarships," and they give you the rundown how much financially you get, so you know
So
before you
it's
apply.
that easy.
That's nice.
And then I don't know why I applied to be a Golden Gopher in Minnesota. They had a good chemical engineering program. The rest of their engineering is only okay, I would say. So, don't know why I did. So, I went to Purdue. That was the best of the engineering
Those are the-
schools that I got into. I'm
Those are
happy with the choice.
3 and 4 schools you applied, basically.
3. Yep. Total of 3.
Solid amount.
So you haven't played any prestigious college at all. Like you didn't even give it a shot for it. I was like, yeah, maybe,
Oh, even if I did, like, heck, let's say I've tried a really long shot. Let's say I went for MIT. And let's say I got accepted. I wouldn't go.
Why not?
I wouldn't. I think that the people and the culture there would be so tough, cutthroat, toxic.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to be a part of a culture where the stress is so high that you have things like higher suicide rates or like the extreme curves even in like very beginning classes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, hey, I can be a little bit closer to home, but not like home. It's nice to have a little bit of space to kind of like venture out on your own. And Purdue was kind of like a nice middle ground. It was a good engineering school, wasn't too stressful, it would seem. Not too far from home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything was just right.
I feel like
So the reason why you didn't
go on.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Okay. I
No,
feel like
go
if I
ahead.
were to go to like some prestigious school, it wouldn't be for the academics. It would definitely be for the connections there, because you'll find a lot of famous researchers and all kinds of people there, like brilliant minds to learn from.
Yeah,
I mean, Purdue
absolutely.
has a good, I don't want to say the word repository, a good candidates, I guess, good staff members. Grouping. Well, I don't know what's the right term for it. In terms
A
of faculty
faculty.
members as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, they're a
Repository.
research school. It's all right.
The CS
We're all
major
technical
is
people.
coming out.
That's how we think
Yeah.
now.
Thanks, guys. My English is lacking here.
Oh, good. We definitely have a good repository of professors. A lot of them doing research in a lot of different areas, and we get a lot of. I think Purdue gets some of the highest amounts of funding for like grants and stuff like that for research. So it's definitely good
I
for
mean,
that.
both Oregon State and Purdue, I know that they're both R1 institutions, which is research priority getting
Mhm.
funding when it comes to it. So yeah, I do know that Purdue guys would be crazy with research, but same as OSU. So yeah,
Sure.
speaking of research wise, what was the most impactful professor or courses you have taken at Purdue? So you know that like, oh, this was life changing for me.
Sure. Well, all right. I guess I'll make 3 mentions. Um, the first one. So I'll go in chronological order. The
Mhm.
first one was my microcontrollers class, because that's where you have a CPU that you can write code for, like C code, and it compiles the machine can run. But it also does things where it sends bits to different pieces in hardware, which actually changes the way a circuit functions on the circuit board. So you can light up LEDs, you can send data to things using standardized protocols, and so you can start listing things on displays. And once you get that kind of understanding of, hey, that's how this works, or this is how it could work, it's nice to be able to put that together and say, oh, I can make more complex systems using this like variable thing. So you can make a lot of different systems using the same microcontroller. So that was very cool.
Kind of like building
Um,
blocks.
It exactly, yeah. It's like Legos, because you can
Right.
build so many different things even though you've got the same stuff sitting in front of you. The next class that I really liked was my IC design class. That's when I first did anything related to like, because this was all like system level, where it was outside sitting on a printed circuit board. That I should have probably specified PCB. That's what I was meaning. One of those things that sits in your phone, like green boards you can see with the metal on it. And we went into the internals of an integrated circuit where we didn't touch hardware. We didn't get to see what was inside of it. You kind of just say, hey, we're going to write this coding language that will describe hardware. Yeah, that's the PCB, that whole green thing. And one of those tiny little black things on it is an integrated circuit. I'm now designing the internals for that, but without being able to look inside, it's kind of like, what am I really doing? What am I taking this class for? But there's a lot of good intuition. The professor was really good. The actual most impactful, and the reason why I didn't want to say this first is because it's negative.
Oh.
The first experience that I had was with a lab at Purdue that was very challenging, I would say. And I did not want to stay on for it because the amount of like hours demanded and stuff like that, especially considering everyone else in the lab was a PhD. So there was a huge time commitment, and I wasn't really given that many resources on it, didn't talk to the professor that much. So I'm kind of glad that I moved on to other things, and I learned how to basically say no and say, this isn't for me. I'm going to move somewhere else. And that was one of the most impactful experiences, even though it wasn't necessarily positive.
I think that's kind of
the word
a
impactful.
huge thing. Wait, what were you saying?
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, Peter. The word impactful does not have to mean positive or negative at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be always positive. It's impactful is just saying what's a life-changing thing you had and encourage yourself. So feel free to talk about it, whether it's negative about it.
Life lessons are important. Yeah. What I was going to say is like, I think that's kind of huge, being able to say no to various things, because like something that I think is learned over time is kind of the worth of time, really. Um, Time is really of an essence, and so being able to make sacrifices, kind of like, I think that's kind of, at least for me, also one of the biggest things college has taught me, being able to make sacrifices at different points to be able to succeed at other things. And you know, being able to say no is something that really contributes to that and really helps you build
Hmm.
the ability to just say no to things and figure out what you want to prioritize.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your courses or just at Purdue in general, were there any memorable projects that like really that you really enjoyed or really had fun with, or maybe like
Oh
that you
yeah.
really hated?
Oh, there's a good mix.
Oh boy.
There's a good proportion of labs that you get at Purdue, or there's just one of them's just gonna get you. At least for me, I had two of those. One in my microcontrollers course where I spent the way that the auto grader works is if you don't pass a specific step, you fail and it doesn't try the other things that you could have done for credit. It just quits and says, "Oh, this was basic enough." And so if you stop too early, you get like no credit. So I was stopping where I got 30% credit.
Okay.
I just had some bug fairly early on. And their module told me that I had an issue with this sub portion, when in fact, that is not the issue I was having. So it was telling me to go bark up the wrong tree.
Ooh, that's not fun.
Yeah. So I
How much
spent
time?
so many hours, 27. I
Oh,
kept rigorous track in that lab. After a while, it was almost hilarious. I was like
yeah.
putting another tally marker with my roommate, laughing along that it's another hour. And I said at 30, I'm quitting. Um, Eventually, I found one line of code where a bit was set, instead of being at the very bottom of the number, it was somewhere in between. And I wasn't seeing if it was non-zero. I was checking against it being one when I needed to check it, the one bit being somewhere in the middle of the numbers. So it was so
And that was the
annoying.
cause of all, like a lot of your problems.
That
Like
was the
that's
auto
really
grade. Yeah, because the auto grader failed because of it. Yep.
wow.
And so I corrected that one thing, and boom, everything worked. It was that was a memorable experience. Another one though that was really good in my labs, good project was my ASIC design course. We're given 4 design labs. One of the things you do is you create what's called the advanced high performance bus. So within a CPU, you have to be able to talk between 2 different things in a standardized way so you can keep adding more and more items. Otherwise, every time you say, "Hey, I want to add like a timer with this functionality to your CPU," it's like, wow, this is hard to put in. So you kind of have to have some standardized signals. And so to do that and to have that protocol, you need a standardized bus, or a way to communicate. Say, "Hey, I'm going to assert this wire at this time. You're going to respond after this time," that sort of thing. And so we learned one of those and then actually implemented the hardware for sending and receiving. And we actually got to do stuff in a hardware module, which is exactly what would go on in a microcontroller. We just implemented a very simple module within it.
Mhm.
And that was really cool because it connected what I intuitively had understood from a microcontrollers course, and I had put code into a CPU to go change hardware. And then I actually got to say, "Hey, I'm going to go write what that hardware is so the CPU could write this stuff to me." So it was very neat to get both sides of it. And I kind of liked that holistic, what is it, the nice circle basically where it connects. It
Yeah.
connects the multiple different facets I learned.
So all the
Interesting.
area came along
Yeah.
to an application. Oh my god, I see it.
It
Like that
works.
part.
Yes, exactly. Because otherwise I
Alchemy
just
is
stared at the
better now.
circuit board and I'm like, huh? It's always just like hand waving. Raw, it works.
It makes sense. Things are working. Yeah. Also, right, you feel free to ask us if you want to as well too, as you're also a host as well too, to talk about it. Like whatever we ask you, you can ask us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to ask you guys about your impactful experiences at OSU or CS in general, especially if it's lab courses or projects. Do either of you have any notable experiences you'd like to bring up?
Oh
Do you
boy.
want to talk or do you want to talk first?
I'll share a terrible experience. So I took CS 271 like a year back. CS 271 being computer architecture and assembly. so very low code, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
To say the least, that class was very botched. It was right when COVID started, and it was a new professor, so it's like, already iffy, and oh boy. So let's just say the class was taught over a Google chat room for 20 minutes a week or twice a week. I don't remember. And it was it was
jeez.
basically a typed history lesson on computers.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
And when we had like we did have assembly at the end, but let's just say everybody did terrible. And
Okay.
a lot of our homework were actually like a lot of our homework was mostly small physics experience. Like to show an OR gate, we would have like a pegboard and then a pulley system on it where we'd have two weights to showcase how an OR works. And we're all like, it was so botched. That's one experience for me.
Oh boy. So
Yeah.
they tried to give you the intuition. It just didn't quite work.
I don't know what was being taught, to be honest. What about you, Ken?
The moment you talk about the 27 hours of debugging and figure out what was the problem was that you mentioned, Ryan, that reminded me one of the course that I took. It was last year, I think. Yeah, it was last year. For Operating Systems 1.
Oh boy. Oh,
It was not small shell. There's two.
What's
Just
it?
small. I mean, small shell. Small shell was kind of it, I guess, because this is kind of what makes me upsetting with computer science that we're going to see right now, how they're structured in general. But small shell was, I think they gave you 2 weeks to work on it, the time that I was assigned for it, and I think I spent 80 hours on that assignment for it.
80 is insane. Like
I cannot.
80.
Yes,
Two
I
full-time
know
work
that
weeks.
it was a full-time work, pulling all-nighters as well too, trying to figure out things
Jeez.
going on with it, because not only the concept was not hard actually. I'm thinking about it to it. It was just the learning curve that I only didn't have nearly no exposure of C, of going embedded C writing code, was not the most pleasant experience you can personally can have.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what makes me upsetting when it comes to we're going to say computer science program at least, is that they don't teach you C until a certain point, and they assume that you know everything of C in general, which is like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's terrible. But that's not the class I would like to talk. Not that project. The next project was simple, but the project after that was doing one-way paths, which is called encrypting the code and going on with it. I did literally everything completely fine, except there was a minor bug that I have no reason why I was just not doing it correctly after encrypting the code. Because it's basically one-time pad is basically you encrypt the code from the client side, send it to the server receives it, decrypt it based upon the key that's given to you, and then you read the message based upon it. For some reason, sometimes, it's not all the time, sometimes when I do the exact same text into it, sometimes it can decrypt it correctly, sometimes it doesn't at all. And I was like, why? Why is it sometimes? It's not all the time. Right. Just folks who are interested, if it's a bug and it's always happening, it's much better than saying sometimes it happens and it doesn't work. Because that's really like what conditional trigger in the way that happens onto it or not. And I think it was one thing. I think it was especially how I read the message. It was how it got decrypted in a way that it was like doing incorrectly. And I think I spent about 20 hours or 25 hours on it just to figure that out, while the rest of the assignment was like finished in 5 hours.
Yeah.
I was already done except that part, and like literally I was at the point of saying, praise the Lord, please just when the TA grades it works out for him so that it doesn't show it off and it just call it good enough.
Yeah.
But and literally, I mean, fun fact, I even reached out to TA and say, hey, what's the issue about this? And they were like, I don't know. I honestly do not know why it's incorrect. It seems correct to me. And I was like, thanks, guys. You've been helpful here, huh?
Helpful.
So,
It's when you roll the dice and just see how the chips fall.
but at the end of the day, it worked it out. And I figured out how stupid it was. And then it works. And I was like, okay, I can turn this in. No hesitation with it. I don't need to praise anything at all. It will work.
Yeah.
Yep.
and it goes in. Yeah, but that gave me a headache. It was like that was a time I was like, I do not want to do embedded C at all. I do not want to do anything like low level
Yeah.
programming at all. It's because you can't really debug it as well too in terms of embedded system as well that much. So
What's that feeling like when you submit it? Because I don't know. In my case, I was like, oh my gosh, with the 27-hour breakthrough, I just had it working. And I said, I am not thinking about this code for another second, even though I like looking it over for like 5-10 more minutes, making sure I didn't do something drastically wrong would be insignificant relative to the 27 hours. I was just like, no,
Yeah.
I'm done. Copy pasted, submitted, done. Turned in.
So I'm kind of curious. That part you got stuck on, how much percent of the like small shell was that worth?
Yeah.
small shell wise, or no, that was one time pads. That was one time pads.
One
That was
time
not
pass,
small
one time
shell.
pass, yeah.
How much percent it was? Honestly, I could got a 50% on it if it didn't end up working at all. Like that's how bad it was.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's
So it was decent.
the main it's the main core system of like encrypting and decrypting it, right?
Yeah.
If you can't do that core function itself, it works sometimes, it does not do the project it's supposed to do, and so your Rubik will square be like, yeah, it's not gonna work out. So it's literally like,
Yeah,
if I
that's true.
don't do this well, I will not get an A in this class. Like it was like that.
Wow.
In terms of feelings, but when I turned that assignment in, I was like, I was definitely swearing a lot, obviously, when I figured it out. And I was like,
Nope.
I hate this thing. I hate this thing. I'm dropping the F-bomb, dropping the S-bomb. I was just dropping it all the time for about like 5 to 10 minutes. Turned that in, satisfied, and not looking back to it at all. I mean, I did look back to it because I was helping someone else with it, but I was like, man, I remember this part. I hated it. And then I told everyone, whoever needs help, like, make sure you do it this way, because otherwise it won't work. Even though it seems logical to do that, it ain't gonna work out. So make sure you do that way.
Yeah.
That was definitely my feeling after it. It was fascinating. Let's feel like that.
Yeah. It's illustrative. And you got to be the guiding shepherd that helped the lost sheep.
Probably getting his
Not,
DMs
not
flooded.
even the TAs know. Not even the TAs know about this bug in general. So yeah. Let's see. Any remarkable experience or stories that you have at the time being at Purdue as an undergraduate or a grad student, whatever.
Any remarkable stories?
Yeah, I mean they could be anything. Maybe just shenanigans you did with classmates, or just like things right outside of school or something.
Oh yeah. Oh, there have been some good ones. One of my favorites is during my sophomore year. I guess there's a couple. There's a couple good ones. During my sophomore year, we started an Instagram called the Purdue Banana.
Hell
And
Is it
three
wait,
of us,
inside joke?
kind of? Okay. We just
Bananas.
randomly were like, you know what? Let's do it. We created the Purdue Banana Instagram account and bought banana suits. I don't remember why. We just like had inspiration.
Oh my god.
And we would dress up in these banana costumes and we would just walk around campus every week. We would typically choose like later at night, like 10 p.m. or something like that, 11, where people are out late or studying or coming back. Like they've had like a hard day or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And so whoever sees you is going to be like, yo, this is funny. This is great. Thank goodness it's not my class. And so we're like, we would play music. We would chill. We would like randomly dance around. It was fun.
How many
And
of you were
the
there?
dining court.
How many were you guys?
It depends. Some days there would just be like the 3 or 4. Then some other days it was 7 or 8. And only 3 people wear the banana costume. Otherwise, it's the entourage. And we all went to the dining court because we're all on the meal plan at this point. We're sophomores.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take as much fruit as you want from the dining court when you leave. Well, they say you can't, but
Oh,
you can.
oh boy.
And so over the week, we would collect bananas. And we had so many. At the end of the week, we'd have like 40 or 50.
Carrying
And we would
bucket.
just be running around fighting people and like giving them a banana, be like, here, take this. And almost everybody took the banana.
That's great. I can only
Knowing
imagine just
if they
seeing
ate
like,
it or not.
yeah, no, it's just like I can imagine only like a bunch of you just like storming one person, just like banana, and it's just a bucket, and it's just like, huh?
The best part is that we didn't even have a bucket because the banana costume had like,
Pockets?
so you know, imagine the banana shape right around you
Yeah.
vertically, right? And where it comes down to the bottom where there would typically be the peel, and of course is right around your crotch too. On the inside, there's actually a sewn in it's a big pocket in the entire bottom
Yeah.
portion, and so we just stored all the bananas in there. And so we're just like reaching in to right
Reaching
around our
in and
crotch,
grabbing your
just
banana.
fucking pulling out a
Bro.
banana to offer to
Actually.
people. I could tell you if I was one of those people, I would have absolutely accepted the banana and I would definitely have thrown it out the first chance I had. I would not trust that.
That's a moment.
So have
Oh,
you guys
man.
had any fun or wild college experiences like
Oh,
that?
God. Not
I
to
do.
that extent.
I have two. Two, but I'll talk one. I'll just tell one now. I think it was fall. It was freshman year. I think it was fall term, beginning of first year. I was just hanging out with my friend, and we were working together. So right after work together, we were just coming back from work and going down, and we were like, it would be nice to play hide and seek, in these residence halls, just play hide and seek in general. And it's like, yeah, we could do that honestly, right? And then we ended up playing hide and seek, and I was living on the fourth floor, and then a few of my friends who want to play hide and seek, we were just like, okay, the entire floor of it. We can play hide and seek with it, and whoever's participating can leave the door open to hide whatever room they want to be part of it, and then let's play on with it. And we started about like 5 or 6 people at the beginning of it, and it was great. But however, as we encountered and running away from people, that interaction of hide and seek, people see it. You're running around the hallway and going on, and people are like, "Ooh, what's that? Can I join as well too?" So we did total 3 rounds. The first one was 5 to 6 people, and then the next time when we looked into it, we have 15 people who want to play hide and seek. So and then and the floor is not that big, so we entire the entire building of our residence hall, right?
Oof.
So we were playing hide and seek for 15 people, and since it's not the floor, it's the entire floor, so there's more people seeing what we're doing. So at the end of the day, we had 40 people playing hide and seek on round 3.
40?
And we were like, we gotta so we have to go to a different residence hall, which is much more bigger. And then we were playing hide and seek for entire residence hall. The sucky part of it is that there was only one seeker, and we have 40 people to find and stuff. And
How long did it take you to find people? Oh my gosh.
Right.
Bro, and you have a
And then
whole resident hall.
Yeah, whole residence hall. And then I'm just telling you, it was second hall for folks at OSU, and second
Okay.
hall is known to be the biggest resident hall, and we were playing there. And fun fact, on round 3, I was the seeker. So for me, I was looking for 40 minutes, but just and these guys
many
were
did you
goddamn
find?
good. For 40 minutes, none. I couldn't find any single one because it was so
What?
big and they're just all over the place.
But
It was so
40 people. There's no way you could have found one.
No, they were moving around. Literally, the guy who suggests playing hide and seek. Do you know he ended up hiding one of the So we have in second hall there is a study area, right?
Yeah.
And in study area there is closets inside of it, and there's like drawers in there. He was literally hiding one of those drawers and just crouching his body inked up like this, squished
my
into
God.
it. And he was
That's
like,
next
"Why
level.
why would he hide there? Does that hurt?" It's like, it hurts, but I got the dub. It was like,
How long did
Why?
it take
Why?
for them to realize that you were just done?
I was like, I can't find it, right? So I asked people to find that who was not playing the games, like, guys, can you find people who seems they're hiding? Let me know. Just let me know so I can go get them, right? My friend who's hiding that drawer stayed there for like 3 hours. He stayed there for 3 hours until like 2 a.m.
Oh my
That's what I'm
gosh, I
saying.
would do maximum 45, and then I'm
Yeah.
done.
The dedication of this man was trying to win this game so from against the fight ahead away from the seeker is like,
I can only imagine
It's
you
like-
walk by a counter and then it's just like you hear an Instagram reel from under it.
well,
Yeah,
the fun
exactly.
part is that, yeah, the fun part is the RA did not care at all. The RA was like, "Oh, you're not playing a toxic game? That's good enough. Go ahead."
Nice.
So we were
Chill,
like,
RA.
it was just. I kind of missed that one because that was freshman year, and it's been a
Yeah.
while. And since then, we never did another one. But man, it was crazy in my opinion. Like hide and seek for 40 people with a big area,
That
and me
is
being a
insane.
seeker, hated it, but it was worth.
If only you could do the like Mr. Beast video type thing where you just like get on the intercom to the whole building and you're like, everybody on the 3rd and 4th floor move to this area.
Honestly, I was about to do that, like, because in the second hall they had that kind of speaker functionality. So I was honestly say, whoever's in the roof, get off, go back into an area. That's
Whoever's
inside.
on the roof, jump.
Wait,
Honestly,
wait, did you check
honestly,
the roof?
Yes, and they were people up there.
Jeez.
Of course.
Also, a fun fact, and it's hide and seek, right? It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be in that position. They can move once, so some people will be in an alt roof and go somewhere else and go back and roof again to avoid me, right? That's why it's like 40 minutes. It's a really long time to find, and they were moving all around. I just couldn't
I
see
feel
them
like
at
a good
all.
choke point would be like the stairs.
Yeah, I was like literally, I was just chilling the stairs at one point, and then no one walked by the stairs for some reason. For 10 minutes, I was just sitting there, like maybe they'll come down here. Nope, they did a different path with it. So yeah,
That's
it was
insane.
crazy. How about you, Peter?
I'm gonna be completely honest. Like my college life has been pretty docile, so nothing particularly crazy. Yeah, honestly,
It doesn't have to be crazy. It just has to be something where it's like, hey, this stood out as like a cool experience, even if that's like, hey, I met this one cool person, or I got like a dinner with a friend and really realized something important. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I was psychotic and dressed up like a banana and like handed people bananas from like what looked
Yeah.
like I was pulling out of my crotch.
honestly, there's nothing particularly I can just pull out of my head. There's my college life has been docile, and I know it'll be one of my biggest regrets. But
I don't know.
I mean, you can also
As
talk
long
about-
as
you
you've
can also talk
enjoyed your
about tech
college
now.
years.
You
What?
can also talk about tech. 'Cause you can also talk about
Yeah,
tech
okay.
experience with us.
Yeah, I guess me count. Honestly, like our Creator Lake trip, like when 10 of us
Mhm.
BCOP interns at Tech literally drove all the way down to Crater Lake. It was like it was the dynamic of people, like the social atmosphere amongst us all, and even on the 5 hour car ride there was insane. Like the whole trip was rather unhinged. How do I put this? 10 of us at a restaurant, 3 of us insanely drunk. One's completely like mentally gone. That's how drunk they are. And then there's a conversation at the end of the table about gilfs yelling and screaming, and there's a family over there, and we're all just like, I don't know about that one. There's kids. Yeah, and then there was this one time. I'm not gonna name names, but like, there's like 4 of us. So we're Crater Lake. There's this jumping point, right? We jump in, and it's like this is just so unhinged. Like things are just happening. We're all like, huh? So there's one person who's just like a little bit out there, right? A little bit on the.
I think I know where this is
side.
going.
Yes, I think you've heard this story. We're all like, so me and 3 others, we're standing at the cliff talking, and then there's people over there at the jump point, like getting undressed into their suits to jump in, right? Like there were 2
Sure.
girls there, and I was like, and then all of a sudden, one of our group mates in the conversation, we're all in a circle, just books it out of the blue. No, it doesn't say anything. Like as soon as like he saw like 2 girls undressing, he just books it, and I'm just like, huh? And we're all looking at him like, wait, where's he going? And we're all looking at him like, what is he doing? Yeah, and then he gets there. He stands around. He like, he literally gets there, right? Like to the jumping point. Walks back. For no apparent reason, and we're all just like so confused. But it's not that funny the way I'm explaining it, but it was really funny in the moment. Yeah.
Plus, also, wasn't there the like awkwardly like staring at the girls for two.
Yeah, no, it's just like, what is he doing? Is he gonna go get their number? I have no clue. Yeah,
all the fun
I
stuff.
was like, what? Huh? It's funny. Really funny guy. What else?
Man, now
Yeah,
hearing
Crater
from that
Lake.
story, so
Yeah, the Crater Lake trip was definitely by far the best. Like in the car, there was this amazing dynamic too. Um, I was in the back middle, one on my left, one on my right, and then there's two in the front. We're like kids back here, and the two in the front are like, uh, one of them was like, one of them was like mother like, one of them was like uncle like, if that makes sense. And
Sure.
There was a duality in the radio. I think you remember the story. Like one would just tune the radio down, while the other would just tune it up. I was like, and we're all just witnessing this. Like, what is this tension?
Too many cooks in the kitchen, so he turns the song up, and somebody's just like, "No,
turn down."
Killed it.
And then the vice versa, like turn it up, no, turn it down.
Yeah, we watched that dynamic the whole time. It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was much funnier in a moment, but
Sure.
Honestly, thinking back to just not just in Purdue wise stuff, but just like we were talking about Purdue a lot right now, but like in terms of like tech wise that we all have in common, I think that was probably the most engaging fun I had since COVID happened. Right, I
for
think
sure.
like at least for three of us right now, we went to one of the camping guy. I do not remember exactly where it was near the end, and we just stayed for a night for camping, and then. I remember like one of the days, like early morning, that we cooked like I don't know, like 10 bowls of rice, and then early morning just eat that with spam, and then just eat that. And
Yep.
So
And then
really
there's like the Abiqua Falls trip that we had.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Andy.
Like a bunch of good stuff.
Do you like
Trips
spam by
up
the end of the day?
Were you asking me about what my thoughts on spam?
Yeah, because you're the one who hated it.
Still good.
Oh, I didn't eat spam. I refused to. I literally cracked an egg into my hot rice, and that was enough. It like cooked the egg enough, but it was like still creamy, and I'm like, perfect. That's it. That's all I need.
That'll do it.
Because I still stand by the fact that I think spam tastes like dog food. So.
What do you mean? Spam is just a wonderful food. Spam is a wonderful food. It gives the beauty of it. It's like
it's wonderful if you're a dog. Sorry.
Are you saying that's your dog? Damn, man. I give my guest speakers with respect, but he does not come. He comes like, nah, man, you're just dogs.
Sorry, I'm just saying there's a possible explanation.
Spam is good. It is just on the salty side. That's my only complaint. Like, have you seen the label
that's
on that thing? Like, one can is like a day and a half of sodium.
Oh yeah. So you always get the less sodium, and you also mix with eggs. No salt with it. That's the best combo with it. Oh, I want one right now. That's speaking of which. With white rice.
Can't relate.
But yeah, even that, and even just watching the stars that night as well too, was just great. The only sad part of that trip that I remember was we cannot make a campfire, that we cannot have s'mores. It was just like it was just so upsetting. I was like,
oh, such a good fire too.
Yeah,
we did it so good, and then it was like shut that down. It was like dinner.
And Mr. Ranger Man came over and said, "Fire danger."
Yeah, probably. We're kind of at a no burn time. Okay.
And then
I just want s'mores.
Yeah.
And then because of that, we made ramen in the car, and ramen eat inside in the car to avoid mosquitoes.
I remember that there's somebody escaping the mosquitoes because we didn't have the campfire to like keep them away.
Probably mosquitoes were like, oh.
How many bites you guys got that day, if you remember?
20 plus.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's around 20, 30.
Yeah, that sounds about right. There were so many mosquitoes. It was crazy.
It felt like it was like 3 a minute. Like you were like almost constantly slapping. It's like you'd have 10 seconds of reprieve and then just you'd feel it again.
You feel the skin that just goes touch the wings, like just like go back.
I know.
And then you do it as you have like your chopsticks or whatever in hand. You like throw some ramen on the ground.
Noodle, stay knockout for a bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Thankfully,
Yeah.
my bites didn't itch until like 2 days later. So I had 2 days of like relief, or just not relief. but,
Okay.
like, I was able to escape 2 days of itching.
That's good. Yeah. For me, I remember it was almost instantaneous. Oh,
Jeez.
but honestly, that was a really fun trip. And we had
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
was.
really fun trips that summer. Honestly, that summer was amazing because
Yeah.
meeting you guys and a lot of other really good people, working at a company where the culture was really good, where they cared about their people. It was all very positive. So I'm going to be forever grateful for that experience.
Mm-hmm.
As will I.
As well. Honestly, my next internship at Adidas. Honestly, if I didn't have that Tectonic experience, I would not get that position at all. So I'm really grateful, not just the people I met, but also the skill I learned as well too. So it was worth, I would say, in my opinion, definitely worth a lot. And speaking of like hanging out with you guys, I remember playing a lot of ping pong as well too. That's that we
Oh, yeah.
cannot forget
That was
at
the
all.
after school hangout.
Literally,
That's literally what it was.
Yeah.
I was like,
As soon as we were done, we would just go.
Mm-hmm.
4 p.m. Oh, we had to hit the gym to play some ping pong straight up and just go there.
And then occasionally, depending on the day, you like come back to my place for food, or we get food out, or something. It was a good time.
The speaking of food out, Peter, you were not there sadly, but it was Ryan and I with other interns of doing the no balls of from In and Out, and then dinner going to.
I remember hearing you guys go to In and Out and the traffic too.
It was so spontaneous. I think if we recall correctly, it was playing tennis around like early in the morning. I think it was a Friday as well too, and we didn't have because we already did our what Tetrons did. They had a 1-day weekend, like a Friday off or Friday half day off, and for us, we did a lot of work on it. We already spent 40 hours that week, so we didn't need to work on Friday.
Yeah.
So Ryan and I was playing tennis in the morning, and then we were like, we should grab lunch, and then we were like, well, Beaverton, where Oregon, Beaverton has the only place for Shake Shack, so we went there to get some Shake Shack, and from there we're like, no balls. I suggest no balls. We can go to In and Out over dinner. And
boy.
for me, I'll put gas along the way as well too. And then literally Ryan responded like, yeah, no balls, let's do it. And literally Ryan and I and a few other interns just grabbed into my car, drive all the way down to Salem, which is about an hour drive down.
Yeah.
Go to In and Out and get food and drive back up.
For the moment, just like that, it was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do
What
it.
else do we have
Let's do
going
it.
on?
It's a Friday, and like
You guys were
nothing
out
goes
a
wrong
long
with
time.
that.
I remember seeing your progress, and I was like, oh. It was like Snap Maps or something. I was looking. I was like, it's been 3 hours.
Oh yeah,
That ain't quick.
In and Out, right? It was just
Yeah, it was very In and Out.
It was more in,
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It was in and out. Like the and part was just
Yeah.
short.
You guys are
It
just
was
there
short.
for
It
a
was
second.
short. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if to be honest, right now, if you go to In and Out, the same place that we went, the line that I visit is a lot shorter now. So
I wish
if you want to do it, no balls, Ryan, no balls. And
I've already gone into In and Out. I already went to In and Out.
already, you have.
Yeah, we were down
Crazy.
south for a hike, and we were out at Silver Falls. And so the natural thing that you have to do is go to In and Out. But the
For
sad part
real.
is I didn't get another hat, and so I have a hat from last summer. I want to get another one, and each one of them I'm going to write like 2022, and the other one, the new one, 2023 on it. See how many of those I get to collect.
Oh boy.
And then next year, 2024, 2025. It might be a different. You make sure you write the locations, but where you got it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Next time you go to California, just go for a random store and just get a hat there.
True.
For In and Out, like when I order, what I would have ordered next time, if you do go again, I would get In and Out animal style double double with it along the side with I think it was animal style fries. I don't know about animal style fries, but I like the animal style burger with double double. That's what you go for. It's not on the menu, but
Yeah. Yeah, the animal style fries though, I think are just like not the go-to move. You get the slice of American cheese that you put on some other ingredients all melted on. It's not for me. But the animal style burger hits different. That is good.
I think I've only had the animal style fries. I've not had the burger. I don't
Go
even
for it.
remember what animal style was, bro. It's been too
Animal
long.
style. I was saying it while my mom. Animal style is basically they caramelize the onion, and then they melt the cheese along with it. So instead of just raw onion, it's caramelized onion.
I remember. Yeah. That was
And they have like a little bit of Thousand Island-ish sauce that's called their In-N-Out sauce.
So good. And also the pepper in for the In and Out for that, it's just it hits well. It's like if you want to go, it's like it gets oily, right? Obviously, and then you have the pepper go on with it. It just cleans it up, and it's just like
cuts the spice out, or cuts the oil out. Like it's not even there.
Yeah, and also Napoleon shake is also pretty good as well too. I get that.
The best part is how healthy it is too, because you've got carbs there, you've got your protein, you've got your vegetables, you've got like the whole food group there. That
I mean compared to the kilos that I had, compared to the kilos that I had, compared to that chocolate cake shake that I had, you know.
Oh my gosh, anything's healthy relative to that.
If it keeps you alive, it's healthy.
Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
What's the cost? You know, not healthy, but what's the benefit? The instantaneous pleasure. You know.
Absolutely, and it does keep you alive if you just didn't eat anything. Versus eating that would sustain you for a while.
It's not a big difference, and you know, if you want to feel like you're affecting your health, just work out after that. Straight up, that would do it. Just
if you're just feeling bad about it, just have another.
Have another, and you'll feel better.
But don't get the same one. You actually get the cheeseburger one, so that you get to eat, so you have a variety of it. So
yes.
I see.
A balanced variety.
Yes.
Sure. You gotta have a balanced diet.
You walk up to the clerk. Hello, sir. What will you have today? Everything.
Just like
so I got chicken fingers like an hour ago, so I need to mix it up and get a burger and fries this time.
Sir, when you say everything, do you want like the variety of animal style, animal style with onion, and all of that? So
all varieties, like all combinations, all permutations.
All permutations of the double. Give me. So I guess we can kind of go back on track with Purdue experience that we're gonna see experience, because we kind of went off a little bit. What extracurricular activities you did? It's 12:45. My God. What extra activities you did relatively, like when you were at Purdue?
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing I will say is I'm probably gonna have to go in about like 5 minutes here, because my laptop is about dying and I need sleep. I'm used to going to sleep at like 11, and so it's after my bedtime. Anyways,
so
extracurriculars.
If we see a cutoff from you, basically it says good night. It's nice talking with you, basically.
Yeah, sounds good. If my screen just suddenly goes black, that's it. Extracurricular activities. I didn't really do that many at Purdue. Did I do extracurriculars? Not really. Like, I did chess club for a little bit, like freshman year. It was good meeting some people, but it's so nerdy. And then I was like, hey, you know what else I could do in my free time? I could hang out with friends or like other people and not play chess. I was like, let's do that. And I can play chess if I want to. So school took my extracurriculars, but it didn't totally steal my interest. I still enjoy cooking and like other stuff in the meantime, and occasionally like balling with the roommates, you know. Enjoyed that a little bit more my senior year, my last year here.
cooking, what's your the number one food that you can probably say like I can cook this like on top of anyone else? Like this shit that I create is the thing I can make perfectly.
Oh, the perfect thing I can make. I can.
Don't say PB and J. Don't say PB and J.
Oh my.
No, I wasn't gonna do that. No. I have too much respect for myself. At least I'd like
Scrambled
to think I can do
eggs.
things better than PB and J. I would say a good French omelet, or so it's either that. I wish I could say omurice, but I failed it 13 times in a row. Still have yet to make it.
I want to try that
correctly.
someday. I've yet to get around.
14 times a charm. 14 times a charm.
Yeah, 14 times the charm.
bro.
The amount of eggs I went through is obscene. Oh, so bad. Anyways, I can make a good French omelet, so I have that,
many eggs were
and
in
then
a pot?
also char siu. Oh yeah, 3 eggs per omelet, so I went through 39 eggs. The roommates and I, we went to Walmart. We got the 60 pack, and we were just like, well, what were we having for dinner? We're having failed omurice omelets, which we had.
Again.
And then we had leftovers. We had about 5 or 6 leftover omelets then. And let me tell you, there's somebody in the apartment just whoop, vacuum, gone. One day, there weren't any more eggs left. It was it was like miraculous. So it all went to good use. All the botched omelets. But I never got the omurice omelet. It's tough.
But you say char siu as well too, right?
Yeah. Char siu is a pretty good one, but there's not that much to do other than like, hey, measure out a couple of the main ingredients that are going to go into the body of like the sauce, taste it to make sure it's pretty good, and then you just throw some pork belly in an Instant Pot with it and let the pressure cooker do the work.
You
and
know,
glaze it at the end.
It sounds not like a lot, but people who's bad at cooking, that sounds a lot for them. Just so you know, like they get terrified. Like I don't know how to use it Instant Pot, or like I don't know what this means. Putting this soil in and putting it cook in the pressure cook. What does that even mean? Like,
I guess, yeah. It's
compared to that,
it's not the easiest flavor profile per se, but yeah.
Omurice is definitely something I aspire to be able to do someday. But hearing you say 39 eggs makes me kind of rethink it, going like, oh boy.
Yeah, I thought a French omelet was difficult enough, but this was next level, I must say. In difficult. It's not called the world's hardest omelet for no reason.
Yeah.
omelet's hard to make. I do agree. It's hard to make in general. So yeah, sorry if we continue turning it off and on. Mom's walking in. I don't want to be
okay.
all of it. So
Don't worry, we have the power of editing.
chop chop, cut it off.
Indeed.
Let's see. Before you say goodbye, because your laptop's about to die. Was it worth going to college at Purdue? What do you think the whole experience was worth?
Absolutely. I guess, okay, just because I haven't asked people, I won't give shout outs and names, but there have been lots of people that have been influential in my life, both as professors and both as friends. And so it's the experiences with those people, the understanding that they gave me, the way that they shaped me as a person, the people I have met. I'm so grateful for that. And, of course, the main thing that you're there at college for is to learn a lot about a specific topic or something that interests you that theoretically you can carry on for a large portion of your life. So if you don't find something that interests you in that time, that's hard. And I definitely got the spark. I'm very interested in IC design. I really like the stuff I've done. I think Purdue's a great school for electrical engineering. It's not easy by any stretch. It's going to be many hours spent, and it'll be hard hours. But what you get into it is largely what you get out. And throughout the whole process, even if times were tough, I always had good support groups, whether that was friends or faculty and whatnot. And I couldn't be more thankful for having done it. Plus, I wouldn't have gotten to meet you and all the other people at the Getronics internship and stuff. So I wouldn't trade it for anything. If people offered me MIT saying, hey, you're going to have like other friends and stuff, no. Purdue is. I'm glad I stuck with it.
That's good.
That's good to hear. Any advice that you would give for any incoming college students or thinking about going to college in general?
That's a good question. Hard. If I had to simplify it down for the people that are just like incoming, especially if it's engineering at Purdue, it's hard. Expect to put in a fair amount of hours, a lot more than you think. But the goal should be you have to focus on classes, you have to focus on friends and having fun. Largely friends and having fun are kind of go hand in hand. So as long as you can manage to juggle all three, you're going to do fine. And take whatever AP credit you have and run. Do not retake calc. Do not retake any of those. No, never. Always take the credit and run. It's never going to help you to get beaten down by an exam that instead of testing intuition tests, hey, can you do this one arbitrary problem? Not worth it.
Saves a lot of time too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to say for anyone else who's interested as advice that you want to give?
Yeah, I think Purdue's a really good school. Housing is tough. Find housing early. And there's a lot of good resources through extracurricular activities that you can look up. A lot of people that want to like meet you and stuff. So you always have support groups. And it never hurts to reach out to people whenever you have questions to try to get help. Very important.
For
Making those good connections early on.
Yeah.
Anyways, I would definitely ask more questions and like interact with you guys more. But unfortunately, I have 4% remaining in approximately 2 minutes, according to my laptop. So I think I'm going to have to drop off here.
Sounds good.
So thank you so much for coming here. I got to appreciate it. We have to appreciate for sure. Peter and I are appreciating here. And if you want to talk something else, anything with it, we can talk about stuff, anything that we talk about. Like, we can talk about the entire thing about Tetronics again.
Sure. Oh, I could spend time talking about that. Yeah. So I'm happy to come in for another episode. Some other time.
We'd be happy to have you.
Sounds good.
And having other people along with us too. If you have other people who might be interested in joining this podcast as well too, let us know. We would like to have them talk about as well too.
Will do. Well, thank you for having me stop by. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Our honor.
And have a good morning, I guess.
It is
morning.
Yeah,
it's 12:54. 12:54 on Friday. Yeah.
May 26th.
Well, good morning for you. Good morning for you, Ryan.
Thank you. And take care. All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
All
right. Why don't you wrap us up here?
Do you want to wrap this up, or do you want to talk something more into it?
I thought you were wrapping things up. I'm the intro. You're the wrap up.
Well, the reason I was wrapping up because Ryan had a head, and I don't want to just cut him off. And it's like, yeah, Ryan's off, guys. But if you want to talk stuff about in general, things that we kind of talk, and I want to go more in depth about it was, was it worth it? When he said, was it like how you evaluate college? I was kind of surprised that like the cultural aspect of college was kind of significant enough to the student when it comes to it. So that's something I should incorporate to my thesis that I will write about in terms of it. But along the side of that, advice for fellow current college students. Do you have any? I think we kind of talked about this, but we can do it again.
I think we went over only briefly. The biggest thing I'd say, like, then again, this kind of really ties into my own experience, which, then again, as it should, to each their own. Just be kind of a yes man if you can. Well, not a yes man, but like, say yes when you can, while at the same time saying no when you should. What I mean by that is, if there's an opportunity to go do something, to go have fun, or to go learn something, take it. Like, you're only here for a limited amount of time. And that's kind of like, at least for me, one of my biggest regrets is just not getting out enough and just doing a lot of things. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now. Whenever there's an opportunity that presents itself where I can learn something or to go have fun, I take it. But, at the same time, knowing when to say no, and when you're not able to do so many things and spread yourself thin. So, being able to know when to say yes and when to say no is definitely one of the biggest lessons I've taken from college.
Yeah,
Yourself?
I certainly agree with that statement in terms of saying yes. I honestly want to say, as for myself as a tip to anyone in college is say yes as much as possible you can. The
Mhm.
emphasis on not saying yes is worn as much as possible because at least in my background, especially when it comes to the honors college, people tend to say yes for any opportunity that's given because it's always beneficial, always. They think about it, but technically there's also cost associated with any opportunities given, right? There's a cost of time, there's a cost that you have to spend time towards it, there's a cost of doing something out, and if you don't spend enough time on it, you you will not outperform, you will underperform what you want to expect and end up not being good or actually hurt back to you in a way. So say yes as much as possible is probably the advice I would give for current college students. I did not take that advice. I No one told me about it, but when I was a first year student, I said yes to literally anything, and I found myself being really busy that I hated myself. So definitely say no along it as well too, but make sure you evaluate which opportunities given that you want to be part of it, and say yes. That college is a place that you explore as well too. So say yes to
Yeah.
anything, but not too much, I would say. And another advice, I mean, I think that's probably the biggest advice in my opinion. Like, I think that was probably the mode that I lived on. Like, you can say no. It's fine to say no on this. Go on. Right? And I guess another one is make connections with people. Like college, like as Ryan said, it's an opportunity to learn a lot of knowledge in depth about it, as he said. But what also he kind of emphasized a lot, but did not say explicitly, is connections, meeting people, and that's something you cannot do. Uh, you cannot do. It's more valuable that you can't just get the experience compared to just learning information itself. So if you're just sitting in a room, just learning a lot, cool, but you won't feel worth it in general of going to college. Whereas making connections is probably more worthwhile. I mean, yeah, I think you kind of share this out of you, Peter, that you meet
I did,
people and you feel that it was more connection based and that you felt more connected, and that's made it more valuable than others. So,
for sure. That's definitely one of the biggest things about college is you're surrounded by a lot of brilliant minds. Make those connections, you know,
mm-hmm, right.
and especially once if you find ones that last a lifetime, those are huge.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure. All right then. Do you want to talk
Well,
anything more, or do you want me to wrap this up for this evening for
I
today?
think we can wrap it up here. My
Sounds
allergies are
good.
still slowly getting to me throughout the day.
Sounds good. Well, just FYI for folks, we were supposed to have another guest speaker along the way. So we were supposed to have two guest speakers for this
Yes.
recording, but one of them wasn't able to make it out. But we will definitely invite him later on. Maybe talk about Purdue. Maybe talk about something else
Mm-hmm.
in terms relate to that person. But as of right now, currently, let me talk for a bit more so that we hit a good timing to end it off. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you are interested in again, if you're interested in anything regarding with we will like as of right now there's nothing going on, but if you we'll probably send out an email. We should probably do an email later on with it so that people have the ideas what to talk about. We can put it in the topic as well. We'll
We can
probably
do that.
put an email. We should do
An
that
email list.
into it. Email
Yeah.
list of people who are interested about topic as such, or being guest speakers well too, because we like to talk about it. Unless they're very talk to the community or recording and such, then we have to cut it off, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
that being said, this is signing off. Well, thanks for tuning in. This is signing off for Ken at 1 p.m. on May 26th.
PM.
Oh,
In the morning.
hey, well, 1 a.m.
Good
I said 1
morning.
a.m. No, 1 a.m. on May 26th. This is Kenneth King,
This is Peter.
and thanks for tuning in. And we will hope to see you soon. And say maybe good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We'll see you soon.
See y'all around. Good night.